Good evening, everybody. This is Adam at Proper Royals. It's 8 o'clock on the East Coast, and it is Tuesday night. That means it is time for Proper Royals Live. If this is the first time you're joining me or we haven't met before, this channel, this live broadcast is all about my family's journey from hobbyist to ball python business. And I kind of document everything here. Sometimes we have guests. Sometimes we just take live chat. But I'm here every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. And tonight's show is all about the hustle culture in the ball python hobby. Is it healthy? Is it fruitful? Does it make sense to do? Are we all crazy? What's going on? I want to talk about all of those things. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what my daily life is like in this world of hustle culture. And I see a bunch of friends, and I got one specific person I got to give a huge shout out to in just a second. Talk about hustle culture. I learned a lot from him, and I think it's the first time I've seen him on the show in the audience. So let me start the show and hit the music, and we're going to get this thing underway. Here we go. Thank you all for being here tonight. What's up, everybody? Thank you all for being here. Like I said, my name's Adam. This is the Proper Royals Live show and channel. And one thing I love about this show is no matter how much show prep I do, and I really do, I write out the show each week. Look at that. It's conveniently blurry, so you don't know what's coming. I write out my show each week. I have my bullet points, and then different surprises come. So I'm sitting there, and I watched. It was 7:38. It was 22 minutes before showtime. And I look and I see that who has said hello and is sitting there is somebody that goes by the handle of Ball Python Love, BPL. When I lived in North Carolina nearly a year ago, maybe 6, 8, 9, 10 months ago, BPL and a guy named Josue from Josue's Exotics had a show together. And a couple things. First off, they were kind enough to have me on their show as a guest. And I'm new now. I was super new then. And one thing that blew me away about those guys is BPL and Josue, they ran their show, and I'm not joking, 7 nights a week. I think you guys did it on Christmas night, matter of fact. Just blew my mind how much effort that they put into their show. And that show came to an end, and I have no idea the circumstances. Is not my place to know. I don't want to know. But talk about, I mean, what an appropriate person and short story to share coming on to an episode about hustle culture and ball python in the ball python community. So BPL is a guy named Dave, and you could check out his channel, Ball Python Love. Let's get him some subs tonight. He's out there in Reno. And BPL, you drop your link and that cool stuff in the comments down there, because he also does a show almost nightly. I mean, I still see it quite a lot. I still drop in from time to time, and I'm not gonna. No spoilers here. It is unlike, and I swear to God, it is unlike any ball python show you've ever seen. He's got either a recurring guest or a co-host right now, and I'm just going to leave it there because if I tried to describe it, it wouldn't work right. BPL, I don't know how to make you in the blue. You can't even leave a public comment. All right, guys. Well, the Ball Python Love handle is what you need to go check out on YouTube. Dave, let's plan one. You got my word. I want you on this show. Come on, maybe next week. I just got a packed one tonight. And the other thing about BPL is they go for hours. Man, it was 7 nights a week for like 2, 3, 4 hours. Man, I drank more beer with those guys on their show than I drank in a long time, maybe since then. And it showed by the end of it. We were we were having a good old time on that show. So I'm gonna swing over to your show next time I see you on, and I'll shoot. Actually, I'll get you on Instagram. I know where you're at on Instagram. Let's do this, and I definitely want you on. This was the first guy to ever host me on the internet, and I owe a lot to both Dave and Josue, and I know that they're both still at it and both doing really great things. So anyhow, check out Dave's show out in Reno, Nevada on ball python love. And I swear to God, that was unplanned. What a great friendly face to see. Thank you all. Thank you, Dave. Another cool thing that I got going on tonight. So those of y'all that are new, I usually give a little recap or what's going on in my world, and then we'll get to the show topic. So just to say, hey, Mark, you made it. I'm glad to see you. I appreciate it. Clint, I think you're new, man. I appreciate you being here and saying, hey, Ray, local guy from Jacksonville. Guys, if you're out there hustling, local Facebook groups are a gold mine for building a community and not necessarily clientele, but definitely a community. Tags, Pythons. I haven't seen you before. Thank you very, very much for being here. Evan, thanks for sticking around. I spent some time before the show tonight. Evan and I, we met in the little studio room. You can do live chats on StreamYard as well. We're going to get Evan on the show before long. Really, really impressive angle on something I would call hustle culture, not to mention making a huge splash. He's the dude that walked into Tinley Park with a pocket full of cash and left with about 10 Ultramels and a couple pides. So there's your big dreams squashed, everybody. I'm joking, of course. So another thing that we're doing tonight that you don't know, that you're all participating in this grand experiment of mine, including continuing hustling. What's up, Leviathan Snakes, dear friends of the show. They've been on a couple times. Steven, I hope you and Courtney are great. Courtney, I hope you're feeling well. I know it's a tough time. I'll leave it right there. Hector, what's going on? And Head Stamp Ball Pythons. I have not seen you all here before. At least I don't think you've commented. Welcome. I'm glad to have you. So this grand experiment that we're running tonight, there is a new social, they call it social podcasting platform, and it's called Call In. And it's a twist on the poker term of being all in. And it's called Call In. And what it is that we are right now simulcasting live on YouTube and on Call In. CALLIN is the name of the app. The cool thing about Call In is that it immediately will turn the episode into an audio podcast that can be listened in your car. It can be listened at work. However, whatever makes sense for you all to consume this content, which I am grateful for. Jordan, welcome back. You're here almost every week as well. So however it makes sense for you all to consume this content of Proper Royals channel, you can now do it via the Call-In app. Unfortunately, their app is only on Apple products, so I actually had to break out my old iPad because I am an Android guy. But we are live on Call-In as well. So if you all want to check it out, I'd be grateful. And it's a total experiment. It's one of these nothing to lose things. It's just another hustle effort that I'm going after. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, then no problem. Because all I have to do is press a record button once I get the YouTube show set up. So that's going on. I want to give a huge thanks to Chuck and Anna. Last week, I let everybody know, and actually I got a lot of responses. I let everybody know I had some OD male hatchlings that I was ready to move along. And sure enough, Chuck and Anna stepped up and they said, we'll make you an offer on all three. And I think before 10, it was certainly before I went to bed that night, last Tuesday night, those Orange Dreams sold. Michaela at Michaela's Farm is her YouTube handle. She picked up a snake. She spoke for a snake this week. She'll pick it up in about 2 weeks once it's ready to eat. And I got some success from my assist feeding on my hatchlings. I had 3 of them that have been needing to be assist fed. One of them took a rat pup, skipped right over the mouse, boom, went to the rat pup. So he is doing well. I got 2 more to move on to food on their own, but I think that they're doing pretty well. Oh, look at Anna. You are out there. Oh, cheers. Thank you so much. You got some beautiful orange dreams coming your way. I was cleaning their tubs today. It's really, really, they're good looking animals. So we'll be in touch shortly, and those will go out heck, maybe Thursday or maybe Monday. We'll sort however it is. We'll get that worked out. You know how to get in touch with me. So that's been kind of my week, minus one huge thing today that I'm not going to talk much about because I might even do the whole show next week on this, or a whole segment of next week's show. I actually pitched to an investor today a business model for that investor to invest in my ball python breeding operation and really move that forward. And I'm not going to share the details. They're not exactly proprietary. Anybody can negotiate with anybody. However, the terms and that stuff would be private, and nothing's final yet. So we'll see. But I kind of got a little twinkle in my eye. I think we're going to have some really, really cool stories to share about bringing in investors to get your projects advanced and what those things would look like. So, hustle culture in the ball python hobby. I don't know anybody that I know of, and I could be wrong, but I don't know anybody that I know of in the audience or that has really interacted with me much, minus a couple names that we would all know, who are doing this full time and that this is all that they do. So by default, this feels like it fits into, this is primarily a hustle. And when I say a hustle, I don't mean it in a negative way. I don't mean it in a con. I don't mean a hustler in the kind of the sense I knew it when I grew up. I mean it as in we're all trying to make our own inroads in our own way, and we're on a journey while we have a dependable income or something that keeps us occupied. And that throughout my life has been a lot of things. Just personally, I never was hungry. I always had a place to live, and I know I have it a lot better than a lot of people maybe have had in life, and I don't take that for granted. On the other hand, I was a dishwasher at the age of 16. I couldn't buy a car until I bought it myself from being a dishwasher. And that's how I rented an apartment when I went to college. And I never left the restaurant industry. And then, Mark 403 Fauna just said side hustle. It's exactly right, man. Wash the dishes only ever paid so much. So immediately it was off to figuring out how I could make some extra money. So in college, I made money by taking notes and selling notes. There was actually in the University of Florida in Gainesville, there was a store called Einstein's, and they would buy your notes and republish them. And if you got high ratings on your notes, they would hire you the next semester. And so I would sell my notes. I would do that. And then I started buying and flipping guitars and playing music, which I do now professionally as well. But I've always had that, and I've always loved it. And I had a career. I was making good money, and I stayed in my career, but I always still kept side hustles going. So when I was 30 and I got my own department of a manager, a director, food and beverage director at a high-end private club, I was hustling wine into shipping containers in San Francisco to ship them to China. And I swear to God, my son had just been born, and my wife goes, "What in the hell are you doing with, shipping wine to China?" Well, we made a lot of money while the market was good. And then that market dried up and I went on. So hustle culture, I love it. It's a part of what I've done. I've always stayed legal with it. Maybe with one exception, but that was a quick, nobody got hurt. It was fine. But I've never wanted to jeopardize my family, but I've always had this insecurity of finance feeling because I can remember being a kid eating ramen noodles and liver sandwiches for days on end now. And in retrospect, I don't think that was necessary, but it's still ingrained in my mind. Like, we're broke, we're going to be broke. And, the end of the world is coming. So, now my side hustle is ball pythons, and that's turned into a business. It is on my taxes. I claim expenses. I claim my revenue. I claim every bit of my revenue that I get from it. And I now run it like a business. And like I say, it just so happened today, it wasn't part of the show prep or the plan, but I met with an investor today. I didn't get an answer other than that we're going to continue the discussion. But it's very cool. And so it's exciting to me. And what really got me going, actually, let me back up really quick. To me, people that are hustling, whether it's a side hustle or whether it's being the baddest son of a gun in the world at what you do, that to me is hustle culture. So whether it's what you focus on day in and day out, or what it's you're working on to make yourself better and improve your life and your world, that's hustling to me. So really briefly, I worked for 5.5 years at the PGA Tour, TPC Sawgrass, the home of the PGA Tour here in Jacksonville. And I was the assistant food and beverage director there. I oversaw the restaurants. And once a year, we host the Players Championship there. And it was our job to feed the players. My particular shift was to arrive at 2:30 every morning so that I could be open and ready to serve breakfast to the players. So I'm working my butt off. It's 5:15 or so. I'm coming around the corner with a pan full of bacon. Bam, 5:15 in the morning. I run smack into, chest to chest, Tiger Woods. This would have been in 2007, my very first year, 2007. So this was before his fall from grace. He's the best player in the world. It is 5:15. Our bacon is just coming out of the oven. The sun won't be up for an hour and 15 minutes. And this guy is in the zone. He didn't blink an eye. I'm sitting there blabbering like a idiot. I'm sorry, Mr. Woods. What do you say? You just ran into this dude with a pan full of bacon. And he just looked at me and he nodded. He didn't say a word. He didn't get out of his zone. He wasn't going to have a conversation. He wasn't going to get mad. He wasn't going to get happy. And he just looked at me. He stepped aside and he went into the locker room and went on with whatever his preparation was. And to me, that was like, holy cow. If I can have that kind of focus, that's the kind of focus it takes to be as amazing as Tiger Woods. So that's always stuck with me. That was 14 years ago. And I tell that story, whenever it fits. But the latest thing that's driving me nuts, and I don't want to turn this into a rant session because it's not, and I always want to stay more positive and productive than that, is this latest trend where people have the audacity to call anybody's hustle toxic as a blanket statement. They don't know me. They're putting out YouTube videos saying hustle culture is toxic. Let me tell you something. If I sat still, idle, and didn't do anything, that would be toxic. I have an addictive personality, and I know that about myself. I don't need to sit still. I don't need to have idle time. I don't need to go take a pocket full of money out to a bar. It doesn't go well. It's not going to work. It's not my livelihood. And I know that about myself. And I don't wrestle. I don't have demons that I wrestle with, but I also know where my boundaries are. So to make some kind of point that I shouldn't work hard at things that make me happy, or that I shouldn't work hard to engage this community that's here and amazing and it's supportive, that'll have 19 viewers at one time listen to me rant about hustle culture, is amazing to me. And that is what's healthy to me. I learned from it. I learned business from it. I was talking with Evan earlier tonight, and he talked about me, tying in the restaurant industry with the ball python hobby. And, I made the comment, but anybody could have made it. It wasn't because it's some great insight on my part. It's widgets, it's products, and it's customers. And business is business. So whether it's restaurants, whether it's music and taking care of the customers, that translates. And if you could do it well in one place, but you find something else that you're passionate about and you can really apply it and get that fulfillment from it, why in the world wouldn't you, within reason? And who in their right mind has the audacity to come publicly tell you that you shouldn't do that? And maybe I'm missing something. And I understand that there's burnout. I understand that you could go too far. I understand that just the way that I love my sleep and my order, other people need chemicals to give them that sleep or that order. So I'm not saying that it can't be toxic, but I'm not saying anything can't be toxic. I'm saying we're all different. And how does somebody have any insight without knowing me? And one of the things that I love about that I found that was the unintended consequence is just the relationships that I built. Ray in the audience, I spoke to him yesterday. No, earlier today we talked. I talked to Ray earlier today in Jacksonville. I talked to Evan earlier today, face-to-face in Wisconsin over the camera. Dave out in Reno that I haven't talked to in several months pops up. And Mark, I happen to know it's Mark's father's birthday in San Diego. Like, how amazing is this community that we're building here, or that I'm able to be a part of and contribute to? Yet other people would say this is this toxic hustle, because what I didn't mention is that I do have a full-time job. I do work hard at what I do. And there's another person, Jay, over in Destin. I was on the phone probably an hour today with Jay. And frankly, he's not even into ball pythons. How cool was that? He comes to hang out because we kind of have our own little entrepreneurial gang that we work together with. So I take a little bit of frustration out when I hear people just blanketly say, oh, hustle culture is toxic. How does anybody get anywhere that doesn't hustle? I'm not going to use any names, but I have several friends that are either immigrants themselves or first-generation Americans themselves that I've worked with, from chefs to people I've run dining rooms with to, in my own life, my own stepfather. America just gives amazing opportunities, and we have our faults. I know this. I am not making this about that. The opportunities here that people will give up and then turn around and yell at somebody and say it's toxic is unbelievable, and in my opinion, unforgivable. So there's my rant on people calling it toxic. Now, this is a ball python show, so I don't want to just rant about how I think people are wrong about things. So let's tie it to ball pythons. I have always found that the people that knock you for hustling have this sort of snobbish classism angle to them. I can remember now this was on ballpythons.net when I first was doing my research. You would ask people, you would tell them your aspirations, and they would be like, yeah, you're going to fail at it. I've seen it a million times. Okay, maybe. So I shouldn't even try. So you just want to run me off, and the space isn't big enough for all of us. Like, it's the OK Corral. Like, one of us have to leave town or something. That always drove me nuts. And it really actually kind of motivated me. And, Evan says the opportunities are endless, in my opinion. Evan, I agree, because what is known is vast, and what is unknown is even more vast, in my opinion. This stuff has been only really happening over the past 20 years. 20 years ago, you had normals and you had albinos, and I think somebody was buying pinstripes for $100,000 from Brian Barczyk in Daytona. There really wasn't much. So we're only dealing in what we've discovered and brought to light in the last 20 years. And these are animals that you only get one season per year out of them. So this is only 20 seasons that this stuff has been able to come to light. How could we possibly be doing anything but just scratching the surface right now, especially knowing what we know now about recessives? Who knows what recessives have come through everybody's collections that never made it to the surface? Why in the world wouldn't we hustle? The other thing that's amazing to me is you talk to these people that, I don't mean it in a mean way, but that you've never heard of. You would never hear of because they aren't on the internet. And out there in Wisconsin, I don't call it a barn. It ain't a barn. It's how I envision it. There's a facility that's got 250 breeding colubrids in there and has been for, as I understand it, nearly a decade or longer. If that could be the case and them thrive in an unknown way, there's got to be avenues to advance and to explore and to do things that maybe have never been done. So it excites me to think that we can do a podcast, a live stream, sell NFTs, and still breed ball pythons and have all that tied together and still have the personal connections that I just talked about us making, whether it's San Diego or whether it's my backyard in Jacksonville, Florida, or whether it's a friend of a decade and a half that I've run some of the finest restaurants in the country with. So I don't buy into that classism, snobbery, limited world. We did an exercise with Steven last week. If you want to know the opportunity in ball pythons, Google some hobby like Corvette and put in the latest trend in Corvettes, which I actually don't know what it is. There's something hip, new going on out there. Or put in vintage Corvettes. You'll see the top videos have tens, if not hundreds of thousands of views, and there's thousands of videos about it. Now put in the latest trend in ball pythons, whether it be sunset or monsoon or even like a double het. How about a pied clown? The videos have like hundreds and maybe thousands of views, but not tens and hundreds of thousands. And there's like 7 or 8. You can make a difference in this hobby right away. There's no shortage of buyers either. There's a reason there's 18,000 some sellers on Morph Market right now. Not to mention, I mean, the market is fueling that. How you differentiate in that market, I don't know. I know what works, what I think works for me. I haven't even proven my case yet, but this is part of how I'm going to differentiate myself. But I think the opportunity is there. And somebody typed earlier, you got to do it within reason. I agree. Don't, my own 2 cents, if you're putting it on your credit card, if you're cashing out retirement, if you're hiding it from your significant other repeatedly, it's not good, man. It's not a healthy. That part is toxic, not the hustle and the hard work and the passion, the underhandedness or cheating yourself. Be on your own journey. If it takes you 5 years to get there instead of 2, well, that's whatever. You're there. You're still there sooner than you thought you'd be if you didn't start, right? Give it a go. I think chasing dreams is one of the most important things we can do in life. Life becomes so mundane, if not. John here just dropped a huge compliment. I appreciate it. He says, you're not just offering amazing animals. You should be offering amazing service and a positive brand image. And I think that's to everybody. I think he's saying that to himself as a goal. I think he's saying it to all of us here. And it is a direction we can go. And by the way, John just reached 1,000 followers on Instagram. So we all have ways to Leviathan Snakes. Are you getting Jeff Bezos on repeat? What? Oh, am I just vomiting Jeff Bezos' ideas? I will take that as a compliment, knowing that you are a good man. Hey, Phil, welcome back. Stephen, Patrick, what is going on? One of the very earliest supporters of my channel of Proper Royals. Patrick, I am humble and grateful for your support going on. Patrick, thank you. I'm just reading your content here, and it just took me a minute here. Definitely one of my favorites. Continue to be great, my friend. Thank you for your content. Your support goes a long, long way. I appreciate you as well. So I got sidetracked there in the comments, but really, I think chasing dreams is vitally important, because it is so easy to feel like you are almost held hostage. We've all had that feeling. Got to go to work because I got to pay rent. Like, yeah, we go to work to pay the rent, but hopefully we go to work to fuel some kind of passion or to get some kind of fulfillment, whether it's working with our colleagues and our comrades and getting that fulfillment. But chasing dreams is what makes those grinds worthwhile. At least trading your time for money so you can go have fun should be some kind of fulfillment. I mean, I remember back when I was 16, I didn't enjoy washing the dishes one bit. I loved hanging out with the restaurant people that I had no idea what went on in that world at the tender age of 16, which was wonderful and part of why I never left. But again, in a non-toxic way, what could be more toxic than feeling like you're locked down in a job where you're may or may not advance, but you don't feel passionate about it, and you're only going to work to pay rent or the mortgage? That is toxic to me. Chasing dreams, even if you chase a dream and find out that it's busted and will never work, you did it and you know it. And you've scratched that existential itch that you can look yourself and your family in the eye. I think chasing dreams is incredible. What was the scene at the end of Shawshank Redemption? Morgan Freeman's character, he says he thinks that hope is a good thing, maybe the most important thing. This is kind of one of those thoughts. So Steven says, no, my bad. My phone was glitching. I got to hear this story. So a moment ago, he goes, all right, the last comment was my started. I'm thinking he meant to say my phone started playing the audio from a short on repeat, and it took away Adam's audio. So probably here was me running my mouth and Jeff Bezos just spewing out of it. Somebody needs to make a meme of that for me and just post it on my Facebook group. If y'all haven't caught on, this show is completely interactive. If you're wondering if it's just me ranting on all the time, no, I usually have guests. But I like to take a stab at these one-off shows. The last one went really well. I find them nerve-wracking. I find that I prep much harder for them, and I don't have much of a safety net because it's just me by myself. And this is what I like to do. And thank you so much. There's 21 of you all watching. I will say last week with Leviathan Snakes, we hit 29 on last week's episode. And you can always watch all the episodes on YouTube, on the YouTube channel. But Steven and I were on, and we were debating what we would do if we had $10,000 to start over, knowing what we know now. So can it become full-time? I started the commentary tonight with a comment that I really don't know anybody that's made it full-time. I think it can be done. I think it's also important to remember that different people's full-time needs are completely unique to each individual. What a 55-year-old person heading towards retirement needs to supplement income. Oh, Jordan, I'm on TikTok, man. You got it's awful. I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm in the early stages of TikTok. There's about 20 goofy videos on there. But yeah, it's there, man. I'll take all the support I can get. There's even one of me dancing with some ball pythons if you would like. So back to, can it become full-time? What one person's needs are completely different from another's. I like to think of it as, can it become a revenue stream that either is a part of many or becomes a part of many that allow you to feel free and not bound to something that you might prefer not to be doing. And I don't want to be ungrateful for the amazing jobs I've had. I've been extremely lucky and continue to be. They created a position so that I could work remotely and so that I would stay and not leave. So I'm grateful for that stuff. However, I do feel somewhat bound by that. And then sometimes that pressure is good. You have, you know, a little bit of pressure in life keeps you on a right track, keeps you from straying and going crazy places. So I don't know that full-time is a fair challenge to make to yourself because it can seem overwhelming. Can you get to a step where it's a viable self, you know, does it cover its own expenses? That to me is the big first hurdle. I was very, very close this year, ifs and buts and all of that. But if I hadn't been skunked on a head-to-head, even with one visual, that's how close I am to being profitable. Next year, I don't have to build my facility. I don't have to install an AC unit. I really don't plan to spend nearly as much on acquiring snakes in the future versus paying for them or versus producing them. So I think profitability is a given next year. Not a given. I shouldn't take it for granted. It's not a question of, to me, it's more of a question of how profitable will I be is what I believe. I have to go make that true. So in that way, one baby step is, will it pay for itself? Then can it become profitable? Then can it replace some of the hours where I feel like I don't have the freedom I would like to have to be doing this? All the while, can I dream big? And in that cycle, then you can upcycle and you can grow and you find opportunities. And I'll tell you, I started my YouTube channel almost a year to the day. Man, I got to look to see the exact day. It was in November. But I've been at YouTube for a year. I project right now in January. So after 14 months, I project in January, I'll be monetized on YouTube, which I have no misgivings. I don't think that's going to make me rich. If I'm lucky, that's going to buy some of the feeders each month. Maybe a new microphone or a new camera at the end of the year. I think that's about it. Phil puts it in a good way. You know, at minimum, we got to start aiming for a net zero hobby, and then hopefully a wonderful side or main income. And I think it's important to build those building blocks along the way so that you don't stumble into something off of a cliff of debt or burning your retirement savings. There is value that comes as you build. You learn things. You learn. I learned fast, but I learned that cleaning 15 babies is a lot more than cleaning 15 adults. Maybe it's obvious, maybe it's not, but it was something that I had to assimilate into my life. But there's been hundreds of little things, just little. How am I going to heat the room? How do I make sure that it stays at the right temperature? How am I going to install heat tape? How am I going to get racks when I can't afford ARS racks? And I don't want the junky particle board ones that I see falling apart on everybody. So, you know, those are all the things that I learned. So I haven't wasted any time in you know, a year on YouTube. And then it was about 6 months before then that I got back into ball pythons since college. I had some normals in college, but April of 2020 is when I started buying snakes again. And somewhere between April and November is when it clicked. I was like, I want to take a stab at this thing, man. Let's give it a shot. And again, in the middle of the pandemic, what did I have to lose other than some pride on YouTube if I failed? And speaking of early videos, check out my early videos. They are, you will see, I've learned, I have grown. Patrick says, Proper Royals, I'm sending all positive energy your way so you can get the freedom to be a full-time snake breeder. Thank you. Yes, being a snake breeder is part of it. Being totally free to explore my curiosity is as big or as much or more of it. I think anything that sparks curiosity is something we should pursue. Maybe not as a hobby, maybe not even as a side hustle, But as a Google, as learning, as growing, as embracing it, man, I love it. If there's things that interest me, and then figure out how you can assimilate that in this podcast stuff. Again, those of y'all that didn't join earlier in the night, tonight we're live on Callin app, CALLIN, and you can get the replay anytime you want, just like a traditional podcast. So if you don't want to sit through an hour and a half of this show, pull up the episode on your Callin app on your smartphone, and you can listen whenever you want or pick up wherever you left off. That intrigued me. I said, I want to find out more about it. I want to give it a shot. That was something that Jay and I that Jay brought to me and told me about in one of our little kind of sometimes weekly, sometimes daily entrepreneurial chats where we're dreaming. So, I don't share this next part to brag. I share it as I'm a big believer. Where did my book go? I usually flash it. I'm a big believer in the concept of showing my work. My son is in 4th grade math, so he has to show all his work. So I wanted to share with you my typical daily routine of hustles. And I'm not going to tell you that I spend 20 minutes cleaning tubs or however long. You guys know that what goes into that. But I mean, in the Proper Royals brand, and establishing myself and separating myself and having a fighting chance against anybody else out there, or with anybody else out there for that matter, particularly the people that have been really, really good to me along the way. So every week on YouTube, I do generally kind of 2 traditional length videos, and those I kind of bullet point out, and then I film them and then I edit them. And then I use a search engine optimization tool called TubeBuddy, TubeBuddy, TubeBuddy. And speaking of being curious, that is something I came across as I was trying to learn and understand YouTube and what drives YouTube, and learning about the search capabilities. YouTube is actually the number 2 search engine on the planet after Google. And so if you can build themes that are highly searchable, you get views. If you get views, you get a higher advertiser rating, you get more subs. Ta-da! It can, all the stuff you know about YouTube. So I do about 2 of the traditional videos a week. I do this live show once a week. And then I have no idea what they do or how they work. I'm still learning. But I do shorts. I do 2 shorts a week because I want to learn and I want to understand it. So far, I've kind of found that having a variety of ways of content for people to consume gives a real diversification. And I found whether it's the stock market, whether it's the snake room, diversity, I think, is important to me. Diversification of assets is important to me. So that's why I try and vary my content. And that's where I focus most of my production on and my creativity as far as content creation. Thankfully, there's some overlap in, reels on Instagram or TikTok videos. But I have noticed if a short crushes it on YouTube, it rarely does well in TikTok. And if I don't know what crushing it on TikTok would look like, but if I get 500 or 600 views on TikTok, I do almost nothing on Instagram. It's a dud there. And if it does well on it, so I haven't found what drives them. I find YouTube to be the most intimate sort of connection. Here's 20 of us having an hour-long conversation. I find that best on YouTube. Instagram, I find a really healthy environment and a supportive environment and an engaged environment. I wouldn't necessarily call it intimate. And then TikTok is just, I don't know. It's like a game of 52 card pickup. Who knows what you're going to get? Who knows? I get very little interaction there. I just put it out. I put it out and see. So my Facebook page, I keep up to date, but that is mostly funneling things to Instagram and then to YouTube, or YouTube primarily. YouTube is my major focus. It's where I put the most effort. But I have found that Facebook groups can be terrible. Speaking of toxic, they can be awful. If the only feedback you get is from Facebook, go to Instagram, go to YouTube, go somewhere, find a healthier community. But I've noticed that some of the very the private groups that another member has to invite you to join are good and they're fruitful. And I think I've seen 3 or 4 viewers from one of the groups called Jacksonville Reptile. It's a private group. I've seen those translate from the group to working here. So those are things that I contribute to like daily, that I work at daily. I reply to every comment on every video, even if it's something I don't agree with. Somebody made kind of a off-color joke that I think they didn't mean anything bad by, but with no context in the writing. I didn't torch them, but I said, actually, literally, I said, excuse me, like as in you might want to clarify yourself. I'm not going to throw you out unless you dig a deeper hole. Then, of course, I absolutely will. And they did clarify, and they probably realized it didn't come across right. So, hey, Ray, have a great night tonight. Thank you for joining me, putting up with my rambling. Work at 1 a.m. Take care of yourself on those zombie shifts, man. The overnighters. I really appreciate it. And I will talk to you soon, Ray. We talk often. Take care. Phil says Instagram, as far as I go, social media is not for me. To take a sidetrack, I'll tell you, one of the reasons I started on YouTube is because in my restaurant world, I spend a lot of time booking and selling weddings. And the recent old school ways of attracting brides, as in print media and trade shows, are dead. They are a waste of money and huge money. There's a print media marketing magazine aimed at brides that was the standard forever, called The Knot. The company I work for, I better not give numbers. It was in the 5 figures, low to mid 5 figures. You could pay a part-time social media specialist quite well with what we were spending in The Knot. And it just dawned on me in the pandemic. I said, man, I got to understand social media. This is ridiculous what we're paying The Knot. I reach more people and have higher engagement peddling ball pythons and my opinions on a page called Proper Royals. Way more engagement than we were getting for those 5 figures from brides. I don't believe in it. It is dead. You may as well put billboards on the side of the road, I think. So I wanted, but I didn't know anything about social media. And that really began my journey. And then I said, what the heck, let's do it with ball pythons, because I love that stuff and I enjoy it. So YouTube, Facebook, daily, Morph Market, I keep it up to date, and I do check my metrics on Morph Market. I look to see what words I think are gathering clicks, so that I can list in the future when I list snakes, I can have the best title possible. Then Instagram, I do a daily, at least once a day post. On the days where I post the thumbnail for this show, I do a second post so that it's not just, oh, here's an advertisement from Adam. So that's part of the daily grind. I work really hard at understanding NFTs and cryptocurrency. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of, is that the future or my pitch? You could search my channel for NFT. I do have some videos about it, but much like I think social media is the way that we will gain wedding business in the future, I think NFTs are, and cryptocurrency and crypto exchanges and the blockchain are the wave of the future. And I want to know about it. And Jay is one of the guys that kind of inspired me to just jump in and learn. It was another situation where I didn't have anything to lose. And if that stuff gets you going and excites you, you could check out my collection of NFTs. It's for sale on OpenSea.io. There's links in the description for that. And this really isn't a sales pitch for NFTs. We'll get there. But that's one of the things that I work on. Call in, and then relationships. I rattled through earlier in the show. I think there's 5 or 6 people in the audience from around the country, literally San Diego to Jacksonville to Wisconsin to Destin, Florida, that I talked to, and people not in the audience. I actually was on Messenger with George Endy earlier today, trying to get a deal done on a snake with him. It's just amazing, the relationships that are out there. And I probably don't spend daily actual conversations. Like there's comments, I fire back comments all the time, but those were all people that I was actually actively engaged in conversations with. And the same with customers. Actually, I sold a snake today because I made an error. I thought that this customer had said she was looking for something specific. I messaged her and she goes, no, I'm not actually looking for that, but what do you got? Boom, she bought it. She's going to come pick it up in about 2 weeks once it's had a couple more meals. So behind the scenes, what you don't see people working on, curating an email list. I have this fear that YouTube's going to go away one day, which I don't think it will because Google owns it, but it terrifies me. I have this fear that I don't really have fear that Facebook goes away. I don't really care. But the morph market will go away. Like that should make you pause. Our industry revolves around one marketplace. And my hedge to that is curating an email list. And I don't want to turn it into spam. But in the event that morph market ever went away or changed or became competitive with another entry that sunk morph market, that I would always have a way to reach my customer base. So Instagram is a hedge against YouTube, is a hedge against morph market, and my email list is the ultimate hedge against all of that because people seem to hold on to email addresses when you think about it. Handles change, social media platforms come and go. Think about MySpace. There's a bunch more that I'm just not hip enough to. We haven't even mentioned Twitter and all this. I've never once understood or tried to understand Twitter. That's on me. It's not a problem. Clearly, Twitter's doing just fine without me. So I try and learn that stuff, but curating an email list is what I'm doing behind the scenes. Lately, I'm working a lot with locals. I'm in a big metropolitan area. Jacksonville is now the 10th largest population city in the United States. So there's a huge marketplace right here in my backyard. So I'm working on that. And then believe it or not, the more snakes I sell, the more customer follow-up questions I get. And I forget that everybody's starting somewhere and that I have to be patient and understand that somebody might be worried that their snake didn't eat because they've only ever owned dogs or fish. And those things eat every time. And a snake that doesn't eat for a month or two is scary. It's going to be fine, I tell them, but it takes some reassurance. So I spend a lot of time with my customers as well. Steven, who, let me just say, by the way, if you all think I spend a lot of time talking about Leviathan snakes and Steven, I do. And it's because I think he's in grad school focusing on marketing, focusing more than almost any of us ever will. And I could say that about myself running kitchens, except we don't need to run kitchens to know how to sell ball pythons. Gaining knowledge from somebody that's an expert in their area and it's free and they're willing to give it and they're a good dude on top of it. Yeah, I spend some time. So usually he's spitting some truth too. So Steven says, I know I'm biased, but I love social media and think ignoring it from a business standpoint is like trying to build a house without any power tools. Possible, but much harder. Yes. I have said many versions of that same line when people say, why would we use that? What I'm doing works fine. A stick and a stone worked fine for a caveman. Well, the cavemen are dead. We have lighters now. We have automatic ignition. We have electric fuel injection now. We have internal combustion. We don't need to rub sticks together anymore. Could you yet? Yes, you can. Jay asks, is the call-in app going for tonight's show? Yes, it is. We are live on call-in. And there's one person on there. So I don't know who you are because I don't know my head from my tail on that app right now, but I am going to learn it. So, yeah, I think we owe it to ourselves, whether we like it or not, to understand social media, how much we want to immerse ourselves in it and adopt it and assimilate it into our life. That's a different story. Understanding that you know, in 1983, advertisers had to figure out cable TV. Now it's synonymous. Our children are going to laugh that we were having this discussion about social media, and social media has become almost synonymous with the internet. If you think about it, there's very little that we consume. I wouldn't say very little. There's a huge amount that we consume that only comes through social media. There are news outlets, but almost any entertainment on the internet now is a social media platform. It really is social media or news or journalism. There's business threads. There are, you know, forums of hobbyists and group focuses, but social media has to be understood and has to be acknowledged one way or another in this age is what I think. And me learning that, and that genesis was that wedding conundrum, combined with the opportunity of extra time that the pandemic provided, combined with, holy smokes, look at all these snakes out here. And secondly, holy smokes, look at all these people buying snakes out here. Yes. So, yeah, Evan brings up a good point. Evan says, Steve, I'd like to pick your brain, Steven, on getting my brand started. But more importantly, Steven has a library of marketing and business videos that I find value in them, and I think that they're great. I shouldn't have stuttered there one bit. I think they're fantastic. But where my stutter came from is that we all need to find out how we're going to assimilate knowledge into who we are and make it work for me. What Jay was able to do in a service-wise at a table was much different than what I could do at a table. And I could do a whole show on that. So it's maximizing your own effectiveness and where your comfort zone is. But Stephen has an incredible wealth of knowledge that is very cool. And who knows, this could be the birth of his consulting business right here tonight on the Proper Royals channel. That's Leviathan Snakes, Stephen and Courtney. Do not discount Courtney, as most significant others should not be discounted. Jay, thanks for joining tonight. We'll keep the show going. I'll talk to you very soon, brother. I appreciate you. So future hustles. I got to get this YouTube monetization, mostly just for hoorah. I don't care if it's $4 a month. I want to say I did it, and I want to accomplish that goal for myself. It's a drive. Maybe it's an ego thing, but it keeps me focused and it keeps me determined. It's a benchmark that's within reach. And like I said, projection right now is that by mid-January, I will be there. And I'm thoroughly excited for that opportunity. And then after that, I actually think it's going to give me freedom to assess how much or how little I do want to focus on YouTube. And I don't intend slowing down whatsoever. But then I might say, I don't know, shorts aren't really my thing. I really want to focus on killer traditional videos and killer live streams. I love these live streams. The revenue from live streams in snake sales has been fantastic. Building a community and culture and camaraderie has been phenomenal. I know a ton of you watching right now just from being here. So, give me a little bit of a better freedom to decide which way I want to go once that monetization is there. It also, I think, will give me a good enough platform and basis to warrant pursuing some of the affiliate marketing opportunities that are out there. I haven't found that useful yet. I think you have to have enough influence built up and a foundation of influence, i.e. subscribers, followers, to make any kind of affiliate marketing worthwhile. I could be wrong on that. I'm sure that Stephen would we could do a show on that. Let's see. Incline says, will I ever start a pattern? I'm not familiar with what that means. You have to give me a little more on that one, John. Will I start a pattern? I'm not sure. Oh, Patreon. Oh, I can't wait to talk about that. It's my last bullet point. We're getting there. Oh my gosh. All right. Will I ever start a Patreon? That's what we're going to wrap this show up with here in just a second. Some of the things that I think I could do affiliate marketing with is Amazon, But there's been some cool things of some companies already reaching out to me asking if they can send me free products. One being Grub Terra. I'm going to type it in the comments here. Grub. I'm going to wait for my Grub Terra. I have no idea if their product is good or bad. I haven't seen it yet, but they emailed me out of the blue. They found me on YouTube and tracked down my email. And they said, we want to send you some products, and would you mind doing a video about it? Well, they don't sell rodents, and really my ball pythons are really all that I keep. I do have a bearded dragon, and hey, BPL, if you got to run, thank you so much. I will. I'm going to come by your show next time I see it on. Leave in the comments if you're still there when your next show is, please, so we can all check that out, Dave. That's David, Ball Python Love, BPL, or Dave, we call him. And he's got a great live show, completely different than mine, totally focused on reptiles and ball pythons, but nothing like you've ever seen, I promise. Worth checking out. Please do. And yeah, when's your next show, Dave? Just leave it in the comments there. So anyhow, Grub Terra, I'm going to get some fly larvae and have my, feed it to my ball python. Not my ball python. I'm not feeding my ball python grubs. Those will go to my bearded dragon. Okay, so BPL says tomorrow and every day. Are you back to 7 days a week? Oh my gosh, it's unreal what you guys do. All right, tomorrow night, Ball Python Love. Go check out his channel, subscribe to it, get the notifications so you can check out his live stream on that. It's a very cool show. There's an organization app I use called Things. It's a very simple, its beauty is in its simplicity. I think I could do well on an affiliate program with Things. And then, of course, vending shows. I want to get into that. I want to understand that. I want to check that out. And again, on Future Hustles, I think we're going to do a whole show on should I take on an investor? What does it look like? What is that like? It's a whole new world to me. And I am intrigued. I am vastly curious. So I'm going to find that out. What are your side hustles? What am I missing? I'm going to talk about Patreon because I have strong feelings about Patreon. But I want to know what your hustles, what am I missing? What should what paths should I go down and search for? And Chuck says, don't feed your ball pythons grubs. Yeah, you're exactly right. I assure you, I will not do that. And please, God forbid, do not anybody out there go, oh, Adam at Proper Royals said we're going to feed them grubs. We're not feeding ball pythons grubs. Don't do that. If and when I do feed my bearded dragon the grubs, I will let you all know. But Grub Terra was kind enough to reach out to me. And I think Mark, you can leave a comment I think he left, but 403 Fauna, I think they did the same with him as well. So he might have some opinions on Grub Terra if you need those sorts of feeders. So, all right, let's go back here to this comment really quick and stick around. If you're still here, this is going to be sort of towards the end of the session. We're over an hour in. There's 19 of you. And John asks, first he asked, will you ever start a pattern? And then I know is autocorrect. Will you ever start a Patreon? I think my answer is no. I'll never say never. It looks like it just froze. Hopefully, stick with me. The audio's, my video went out. 1 second. The audio should still be there. And the video should pop back any second. Stick with me. Hang on. Here we go, guys. And I'm back. There we go. Whew, sorry. All right. That'll make for an interesting segment on the call-in podcast. They won't know what the heck went on. So, you know what's funny? Old Devil Ball Python said, "Oh, I thought you said old technology." Yeah, LOL Technology is right. This is a brand new Canon M50 Mark II. I love this camera, except I don't know why it does that sometimes. I'm not sure. Doesn't matter. Tradesman Exotic says, "Rest in peace." No, I'm back. I am resurrected. Here I am. Sorry, I don't mean to throw around resurrection stuff. So will I start a Patreon? Here's what I think. I think Patreon provides a good service. However, I think it's unnecessary. And I'll tell you why I think it's unnecessary. Through private live streams, through email lists, through NFTs contractually that could be sold afterwards, I think Patreon is obsolete. I think it's unnecessary, and I don't think that they generally bring value. Now, let me tell you why I say that. In a nutshell, let's talk about Patreon. Patreon basically is you're going to make a premium tier of your community that people will pay extra to join and to be a part of. That's my understanding of Patreon, and I'm sure that they have perks and they do it well. I know that they are successful, but I don't believe in this day and age is necessary. I could say, again, specifically through NFTs, but we could do this through PayPal. We could do it through Venmo, Cash App, whatever it might be. You contribute your monthly expense, or you buy your year, and you get the link to our weekly episodes. I could have a second live stream already set up and booked. I could end this. Boom, you all click to the private one that have the code and the link sent to you, and you're the only ones that can enter it. This isn't necessarily against Patreon. This feeling is that we as consumers get taken advantage of for a whole lot of things, and we work hard for our money. And I don't think that Patreon delivers what they charge you for. They take a cut of your subscriptions. I don't know anybody that has customers brought to them because of Patreon. You still have to go get your own customers and then convince them to sign up for Patreon. So you're bringing customers to Patreon, and they're taking your money after you did that. Again, I'm sure there's more to it that I don't know, but I've never found the need to go down that path of a premium tier. Now, granted, I haven't necessarily had enough influence to warrant a premium tier, but let me make this pitch to you. What if, sorry, you got to have a little bit of base knowledge of what an NFT is. An NFT is essentially a digital contract that is logged in the blockchain that will never expire, and the owner of that token is always entitled to that contract. So what if I said you could buy a Proper Royals NFT for a one-time fee, and my NFTs that are for sale right now on OpenSea.io entitle you to one-on-one mentoring sessions. You get first dibs on every animal that I've put for sale. One person has bought an NFT. I've sold one, and that person gets first dibs on every animal with a 24-hour heads up. That person's entitled to dinner out with me at Daytona next year. That was part of the first one. See, we can program all of these things in the NFTs. But here's the thing that's really cool. Let's say you buy a Patreon subscription. Okay, now Tradesman brings up a good point. The censorship, where you might have the freedom to speak freely. So I wonder in a private room on YouTube what the censorship would be, because Patreon's essentially a private room. You could set a link to private on YouTube. I wonder what the difference is. John, I'm totally serious, and they're on a steal of a deal. I swear to God, that's not even me. I will lose money on these NFTs because of the perks that go with them. I swear to God, I'm not lying. If you look at the perks that go with my NFTs, and I'm truly not even trying to sell them right now, I'm trying to make a point about Patreon, but that is true in there. But here's the best thing. So like, stick with me. Hypothetically, let's say I had a Patreon, and John, let's say you bought a subscription to my Patreon. Thank you so much. I'm thankful. I take your money and you go to the Patreon and you're like, this isn't what I want. It could be great, but it's just not what you want. Well, you could quit and your money's gone, and you quit and you learned that it wasn't for you. And that's like how a ton of things go in life. You buy a movie ticket and you go see the movie, you like it or you don't like it, and it's done. With an NFT, if you decided you didn't want it, but you knew I had a big following and big influence, you could sell that to somebody else. It retains its value. And those contracted experiences, perks that come with the NFT, transfer it in sale. And I, as the creator, also get a royalty every time it's sold. You can name your own price. Who knows what Ethereum does in the future? Maybe it goes to nothing and crashes and disappears. And this is a relic that we all look back one day and go, man, that guy was really passionate about that, and it sucked. I don't think that'll be the case. But I do think that NFTs cure any level of subscriptions. Check out what, and this is crazy. You're going to wonder what the heck I'm talking about. Check out a project Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis have called Stoned Cats. Ignore the content for a minute. Stoned Cats. They have created a show. Only their NFT holders have access to it. Their NFT holders get to decide to create creative direction as owners of the show. And there's something like $30 million in NFTs that they've raised from the show. And they get free, full creative control. Ashton Kutcher doesn't need a studio contract anymore. Musicians don't need studio contracts anymore. They don't need record deals. And I know I'm leaving Patreon in the dust. This is why I get passionate about NFTs. And it's all confidential, is the thing. So anyhow, no, I don't think that Patreon, I don't think I'll start a Patreon, but I do want to provide tiers of experience. And something I'll tell you when we get into it in another show is that investor I spoke to today, it has a NFT component, and his investment would be, or her investment would be coded in an NFT that should they ever decide that they want out, they don't have to negotiate with me. They could sell the NFT like stock. Imagine if you could sell stock in your animals to generate cash flow to invest in future business opportunities, just like Walmart does, or just like McDonald's or Starbucks or any publicly traded company does. You could do it with NFTs. And that was the conversation I had today with that investor. So I'm pretty pumped about that. I can't believe 18 of you sat through my rant on Patreon and NFT. I am very, very humbled by that. I'm appreciative of that. I will say thank you. Next week, you know what? Let's try and get, I talked to Evan for quite a bit tonight, Evan Kolstad. We're trying to get Evan on next week, and I want to get Dave on next week. Maybe we'll do a roundtable. Dave from BPL, I don't think you could get 3 more different people in the hobby together, and I think that's amazing. I think it's fantastic. And maybe I'll even bring in another moderator guest that's been here before. Maybe we'll do a little bit bigger roundtable for next week. I want to tell you all thank you. We hovered right around 20 people for the whole hour, and I just want to say thanks. If I can't say it enough, I'm humbled by the participation and the support, seeing all the friendly faces. Coming up this week, I should have the next edition of the coolest ball python in the world out, and of course my 2 shorts, and I'll have some other content that I will put out as well. I do still have a couple nice ball python banana female het clowns. Get them for Christmas. If you want to lock them up, shoot me an email at Adam. No, don't shoot me an email at Adam. Shoot me an email at properroyals@gmail.com. I will talk about payment plans, especially if you're a viewer on here. I'll help you out. I'll make whatever works. All right. John, shoot me a message at properroyals@gmail.com if you want to talk about those NFTs. Like I say, once I end the show, the link to it will be in the description, and it'll be there right away. It might be there now. I'm not sure on the user end, but it should be there. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. Chuck, Laughing Boy, we will be in touch this week. Take care. Until next time, I got to go give my wife a kiss goodnight. Cheers, everybody. I really appreciate you. See ya.